and it's delightful to be here around this very difficult circuit full of technical challenges, sweeping turns, and lots of walls surrounding the circuit. We've had a very chaotic Weekend League 2 pair of races, and now we're here for Weekend League 1, and there's a furious championship battle unfolding at the moment with 6 drivers separated by less than 20 points with 4 races to go. We have 2 of those tonight and then 2 of those next Sunday to see out the championship, but we're going to focus first of all very quickly on the drivers' championship standings. The Dr. V1 currently leads the way on 64 points with Russell Biffin second on 62. Mile M's M24 is third on 61 with Shortbread in 4th on 54. Jolt J7 is 5th on 50 with Psycho on 43 points in 6th. Bushadino is 7th on 33 with Billy Misu, Fett, Jay Evans on 28, 22 and 18 points respectively in 8th, 9th and 10th. Haas lead the Constructors drivers on 105 points with Alpine second on 79, AlphaTauri on 78, 1 point behind, McLaren 4th on 72 and Mercedes 5th on 69 points, so very close in both championships. We're in qualifying tonight. I'm delighted to say that ex-Natty G has joined us. Good evening, Natty.
Hello everyone, welcome back once again. If you're just tuning in after the back of the second Weekend League, then you're in for another great 2 races here tonight at Suzuka, and like you said perfectly at the start, a beautiful track, technical, as Jackie has just invalidated down at turn 1, not the best start to his qualifying, but 15 drivers on the grid, and well, about 15 drivers in the hunt for the championship at the minute, with top 3 separated by 3 points with only 2 rounds to go but 4 races. It's going to be crucial points as the championship comes to an end.
It's going to be very important. There's a few drivers who need to make some moves tonight. Obviously, of those competing in the championship, the Psycho, Miles M, the Doctor, the championship leader in the McLaren, we're going to be hoping to consolidate that advantage. A very small gap that he has, but we do note that there are 2 drivers in the championship fight who aren't here. Russell Biffin isn't racing tonight. He's second in the championship, so he's going to miss out on some points unless he somehow gets in later on. Jolt J7 isn't here either, so those 2 are going to be losing ground in the fight, but you never know, anything can happen in this Weekend League 1, and it usually does.
Yeah, I mean, but we've got 4 races left, 2 tonight, and 20 points separating the top 6, so there's still plenty of things up for grabs yet to be decided. I mean, the championship, the top 2 in the championship haven't even won a race this season. That's how close it's been. So anyone can still win this championship, but every point is crucial towards the end of this season as Viper or Zexify goes purple on the medium tyres, 1:30.4. That's not actually a bad lap considering the lap times we saw earlier.
That's a very good lap time. I think the pole position in Tier 2 was a 1:29.2, so Viper right on it early on. A couple of other drivers who've set a lap time. John Wick on the medium compounds, he's done a 31.2. Jay Evans right behind him. Harron Alley's had a mistake somewhere on his soft tyre run. But yeah, like you say, top 2 in the championship, not having a race victory, but JRL Viper won the last 2 races at China, the sprint and the 50% race, so he is one to keep an eye out for in terms of throwing a spanner in the... Oh, John Wick has been disqualified. He's spun off. He's got stuck on the infield, I think. And he's disqualified. That seems quite harsh, as the Doctor goes quickest.
Yeah, I saw the spin in the first sector, but I didn't want to interrupt your flow. And then I think he just... The thing about the game is if you spend too long facing the wrong direction, you're going to get disqualified. And I think he was just waiting for traffic to go through, but then spent too long facing the wrong direction, which is why the game has disqualified him, unfortunately. But the Doctor has gone provisional pole, a 10th clear of Viper, but on the soft compound tyres, whereas Zexify done his lap on the mediums.
Yeah, he did. So 2/10, less than 2/10 is not much of a gap at all, and Viper will be feeling very pleased with that lap time if that's the type of pace that he can display in the next 12 minutes or so. He's obviously still got time to get a lap on with the soft tyres, loads of time, plenty of time for the AlphaTauri, whose teammate Billy Misu is on an outlap at the moment in 12th position currently, but again a bunch of drivers yet to set a lap. Just having a look through. Shortbread is on a lap at the moment. One of the champions here at Gavra is Shortbread, as Miles goes into third place on the soft tyre, 130.4. Right in the thick of the championship is the Alpine. And he'll be hoping that he can do a little bit more than that, I think.
Yeah, third place for now, second row of the grid. Pushadino's purple to the middle sector in the Red Bull, makes his way through the final couple of corners before a short run up to the line, opens the DRS and puts his Red Bull on provisional pole by a hundredth of a second, a 1 minute 30.283, ahead of the championship leader, the Doctor, on a good opening lap. And I think S11 pretty happy with his lap time on the medium compound tyres, only 2/10 off provisional pole after the first run of lap time. So Shortbread goes to the top, 29.6, the first driver to break into the 29s, and goes 6/10 clearer than Pushadino.
Yeah, that's much more like it from Shortbread. Got a good initial running. Still slower than what we saw from Antzar in the earlier races, so still a little bit of time for these drivers to go quicker. GRL Viper's obviously going to be one to watch when he goes onto the softs, which he is now on. Just having a look to see who else is on an out lap at the moment. Good lap from Pushadino as well to get himself into the front row of the grid, which is actually quite important for Pusher. He's not far away from the championship fight, and with a couple of drivers not in the mix tonight because they're not available, he's got an opportunity to push himself into the top 5. So keep an eye out on that Red Bull. They both have had some form of pace this season, both Pusher and Harren Ali, but they haven't quite perhaps had the results go their way. Jackie on Franson's on a lap at the moment. He's done a 33.2 in the first sector. Not really 100% certain how that compares to Shortbread, but that's his teammate on pole position. Swings through 130R in the Mercedes on the brakes at the 100-metre marker. Down into second gear, overshoots the corner slightly. He's going to set a lap time, and I reckon it'll get him into the top 10, but whereabouts? 9th. That's where it puts him.
Yeah, decent lap from Jackie. Viper's just starting his lap in the Alpha Tower. I'm just having a flick through the grid to see if anyone else is on a lap. Billy Misu says he's 7/10 purple, but he's on the medium compound tyres. And if he is going purple on the medium compound tyres by 7/10, this is going to be an amazing lap. But I think that's just on his personal best. I'm not too sure it's purple, but if it is, congrats. And like you say, with drivers not making it to this race, and well, it's not just one race, it's 2 races that they missed, because it's obviously the back-to-back doubleheader, 2 25% races. That's a lot of points lost, but also a lot of points gained for those who are here tonight.
Yeah, and that's a big opportunity for those drivers, and Pushadino's right in the ballpark there if he can hold on to a front row start. I think Billy Misu, though, he's on a good lap at the moment. He said he was 1.4 up then on his best lap so far, which would put him into a 131.2, which would be incredible if he can do this lap time. Be a big confidence booster. He does a 130.6, but that's a good omen for when he goes onto the soft tyres.
Yeah, and bearing in mind, Zex's lap was on the softs, currently in 4th place, on the medium, sorry, is now on the softs. I think he's backed off this lap. Yeah, he's 6 seconds off the pace on this lap. He's backed off this one. We'll go again, but he's only 2/10 off the quickest medium runner. So Billy Misu, we'll have to wait and see what he can do on the softs. Obviously, it's now a free choice of tyre for the race, so you don't have to start on the tyre you qualified on in Q2. Or if you make it inside the top 10. So all these drivers can start on the softs or the mediums, wherever they, or the hards if they really want to, or the inters or the wets if it's raining. So.
We've had rain already,
yeah,
so maybe they'll need to. But yeah, it's a good point. And Billy Misu had a bit of a breakthrough last week in China. He was on the front row. He had a really good qualifying there. So his pace is definitely undeniable. It's just about getting that consistency, which will be a big one for the race in a few minutes' time. Still 7.5 minutes remaining in this session. I'm just looking at GRL Viper at the moment, who is, according to this, half a second up on his first sector. So we'll see if that is the case. If he is, he still needs to find a little bit more time on Shortbread.
Yeah, we don't know what wings all these drivers are running, what the setup. It'll be easy to see in the race Because he might be 4 tenths up or 5 tenths up, but he could have a high downforce setup, so he might struggle in the second half of the lap. But if he's not running a high downforce setup, if he's taking the wings off that AlphaTauri, he could be in a pretty good position to put his AlphaTauri on the front row of the grid. It flashed up purple on the mini-map. He's about 8.5 tenths off in his lap time. This could be a really good lap from Viper through the final couple of corners. He's currently done 1:30.4. That was on the medium tyres. He opens up the DRS, and it's provisional pole, 29.444, 2 tenths quicker than Shortbread. It's a great lap from GRL Viper.
Yeah, excellent lap from Viper. That puts him right at the front where he wants to be. Shortbread now responding to that lap. I'm going to ride on board with Shortbread. So on for our lap with the Mercedes. The former champion of Gavra, of course, he runs towards turn 1. It's difficult right-hander. Got to get the braking right, and Shortbread's done well so far. Uses 4th gear, runs a touch wider than he would have wanted, but we'll get away with it. Through the sweepers at turns 3 and 4. Nice line through there. Downshifts to 5th gear. And then uses that. Oh, he has a little wobble. Going through turn 5 and 6. He gets away with it. And then round Dunlop for turn 7. Nice and committed on the power with Shortbread, though, despite that little issue that he had. Let's look at that first sector time. He is up just under a tenth as he approaches Degner 2. Again, nice line through there. Really hooked up the lap. Traffic gets out of the way. That was his teammate, Jackie Franson. On the brakes for the hairpin and into second gear. He takes a little bit of time to get going with the throttle, but it's still nice and smooth. No problems there then as he rounds 200R. Very quick and fast corner, no need to lift. And then into Spoon. Nicely done for the turn in. Really got the car rotated. And again, lovely line through the second Spoon out. Great from Shortbread this lap so far. The timing screen will tell us, though, whether he is on a better lap than what GRL Viper did. It's going to be very, very close. 2 tenths quicker on this lap. He's got to get his braking right for the Casio Triangle chicane. On to second gear. Will he short shift? No, he uses all the rev range. Right the way through goes Shortbread. This has been a great lap, but will it be pole? Yes! It's a 1:29.394. Shortbread's on pole for the time being.
Great lap from Shortbread. It didn't look like the cleanest first sector. I still think there's time to find. And thank you for reminding me the name of the final chicane, the Casio Triangle. I completely forgot through this earlier stream. I couldn't remember it. And now, thanks for reminding me on that one.
Always happy to play the assist there, to be honest. Oh, brilliant. But what a lap from Shortbread. I just noticed a little comment from Ant, who's very chuffed at the moment, because he's thinking I might have the fastest qualifying lap across the whole the whole races that we've done, because he did a 29.2. But still 4 minutes before Ant can start celebrating, as Shortbread pulls out of the way for Jackie Franson, who's now on another run. This will be his last lap, really, because he's not going to have enough time to get back round and get another fresh set of boots on.
Yeah,
so this will be it for Jackie.
Either.
No, so would it? I mean, he's got enough time to get into the pits and get out again, which is what you do. Just whether he will do that, though.
Yeah, might be on the edge just if he gets back round. It looks like he's pushing to get back to the pit as quickly as possible.
He should be okay, I think, if he's where he is on the track at the moment. He should be able to have enough time to get the car turned round, about a minute. Yeah, he should be okay.
But will Shortbread be okay? Because he's got to wait for his teammate for the mechanics to push the car back into the pits.
Jackie's gone. Yeah, just gone straight round. So Jackie Franson isn't going to be any higher than 13th. He did go 2 tenths quicker, which is impressive without ERS, but got to question the logic with that one. Our Peters was on a lap then. I was watching our Peter. He was a 10 foot, but he's backed out of that, so I'm not sure if he's had a issue in the middle sector. Harron Alley's backed out of it as well, so they're circulating round. So Billy Misu is the only driver out there on circuit on a flying lap, apart from Fake Nuts and down in 14th, but he's only just started his. So Billy Misu in 7th, put in a really good performance in qualifying last week at China. 2 weeks ago, I should say. There's a car in front of him, gets well out of the way. That's the Alfa Romeo. I think it's our Peter actually who got out of the way of him, and it was. Billy Misu, 6 tenths up. This is a good showing so far. He's got to get the braking right. Down into turns 16, 17 and 18, the Casio triangle, upshifts to 5th. No messing about from Billy, straight on the power as early as he can, runs out wide. So 130.019, puts him in 5th place.
Yeah, it popped up that it was purple through the middle sector as well, so maybe he's not running as higher wings as some of the other drivers might be running, so he might be losing a little bit of time in sector 1. I won't know without checking the race director. I don't think that Red Bull's getting back to the pits and out again in time. It looks like he's ran out of fuel.
Yeah.
Down the back straight.
Yeah, he's definitely got no time to do that. Shortbread has got out though, so he's in the middle of the first sector, so he's fine. Just needs to take it easy on the laps.
Fake Nutson's sorry.
Go on.
I was going to say Fake Nutson's invalidating his flying lap, so he's got the feel well, let's hope he's got the feel. He's got the ERS. Let's hope he's got enough what's the word I'm looking for? Life left in those tyres to go for it again.
Absolutely. Hopefully Fake Nutson can get a lap time on the board. As Harran Ali retires from the session, he realised it was futile trying to get back out again, so he's retired. That's it for him. But loads of drivers on a lap right now. Let's see how they get on.
Who shall we find? Who's starting a lap? Who's on a lap? I think Peter, is he on a lap? I think he's...
The Doctor is on a lap. Yeah, Peter's... Let's see if he's... Yeah, Peter's actually on a lap.
Through the middle sector, will be the first driver to cross the line. 35 seconds left, so he could still theoretically, he can go again if he's got enough fuel left in the car. Makes his way through the final couple of corners. Up all the way up to 5th gear, opens the DRS up to the line. Can he improve from 9th, goes up into 8th, improves by 3.5 tenths.
That's a decent effort for our Peter, the Alfa Romeo in the top 10. The Doctor out there on a lap as well. He's in 3rd place currently. He'll be the first of the top 5 to set a lap time. Billy Misu's obviously finished his runs. There's a yellow flag in sector 1. That's someone's gone off. I'm not sure who it is.
I believe it's Peter in the Alfa Romeo. The Doctor's 2/10 purple through the middle sector. He's only got a couple of more corners to finish off this lap. The checkered flag has dropped, so these will be the drivers' final laps in qualifying. The McLaren rides the curbs, short shifting all the way up to 5th gear, opens the DRS up to the line, and it's P3. At exactly a 10th off Shortbread's time. It will be the second row of the grid for the championship leader. Not
too bad for the Doctor. He's just ahead of his rivals. Pretty much Shortbread's right there, but he won't be too mindful of that. GRL Viper though is on a better lap. He's 2/10 of a second up at the minute, but he's gone a little bit deep into the chicane. That might just cost him more momentum than what he would have wanted. Let's see what his lap time is going to be. He does go pole. 129.2. Can Shortbread respond? He is doing. He's 2/10 up. So Shortbread just needs to keep this nice and tidy now on the approach to the Casio triangle. He brakes at the 100-metre marker. Down into 2nd gear. He clips the apex nicely. And again, this should be fine for Shortbread 224. He comes round the final corner. Let's see that lap. It is provisional pole. It's a 29.1. And somewhere over in in the UK, I should say, Ant is crying because he's not got his pole position. Sorry, mate.
I commentator cursed him in the last race, and then we do that to him. Poor guy.
But what a lap from Shortbread. Gotta say, a 29.1. That's a great effort. Really Viper is second in the end. Wow.
I mean, that lap shows why Shortbread is one of the 2 double weekend league champions. Only 2 drivers have won the weekend league twice in the 11 seasons that we've done. Shortbread being one of them. The others in the commentary box. Retired from racing.
That's a great statistic. So that is, everybody has done their lap times. We're just waiting obviously for Fetz to get his car pushed back into the pit lane so it synchronises up and we can run through the standings, although Miles has just says it's just gone quicker by 2/10. He's always been in 4th, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I was going to say, it just said he went quicker then, but I don't know if it was AI. But nevertheless, well done to Shortbread, another pole position. That was important for him to keep his championship hopes alive. in that Mercedes. You've got GRL Viper second, the Doctor third, Miles M24 in fourth. We've got Billy Misu fifth, J Evans sixth. Good showing for Alpine. Pushadino in seventh with Fetz eighth, Alfa Romeo driver with R. Peter in ninth, Fake Nuts in 10th, and then you've got Harran Ali, Gio, Psycho all the way down in 13th. Only got one lap in. One of the championship contenders is going to have to fight through the grid. Jackie on Franson and John Wick sadly disqualified from the session, which was a bit harsh. Now, I am going to ask you a question, Natty, but it's not to do with who do you think is going to win. Do you think there will be a safety car in this race?
No, I don't think there will be.
No? Okay.
No, that means there will be a safety car because nothing I say is true. But no, generally I don't think there'll be a safety car. I think they have a nice, quick, clean race. It's quite overcast for the start of this one, so we might see a little bit of wet weather running like we did in this stream a couple of hours ago. I could change things, especially with the setup. I know, okay, Viper's just said it's dry, so he's ruined my analogy and what I was going to say. Great. But no, so drive for the race, it's going to be overcast, so that might affect the tyre temps, help drivers keep their soft tyres a little bit cooler throughout their first stint.
Absolutely, it's a really good point, that, Natty. I think we saw in the earlier race, in the dry race that we had, that the drivers were struggling with the soft compounds after 4 or 5 laps, and they were pitting very early. So that'll be something to factor in with the weather being a little bit cooler. Might just extend the life of the tyres that the drivers are using tonight. But let's see how we get on. So we've got a Mercedes on the right hand side, and AlphaTauri on the left. The lights are coming on now at Japan. And the race is live here from Suzuka. It looks like a relatively even start from the front two. Shortbread has got away okay, but GRL Viper's got a better-ish second launch. He's up the inside for turn 1 and Viper takes the lead. The Doctor is in 3rd place. There's a car backwards. That's Billy Misu who's gone off, sadly. Miles M's in 4th. Pushadino 5th. Fett's right with him in 6th place. And Psycho is out. Something's happened to Psycho. He's not got off the grid, so he's out of the race. Oh, Peter, Fake Nutson looking for a little potential move. Going through turn 7, maybe it's going to be open for him, not quite. Let's cut back to the front field though, because that was a nice, apart from Billy Misu going round, a nice clean start.
Yeah, clean start from Zexify as well. He's got himself up into the lead of the race ahead of Shortbread. That's the second time, well technically the third time that we've seen the pole sitter not maintain the lead from pole position. At the end of lap 1, Pushadino getting ahead of Marston round the outside. On the exit of the hairpin, a nice move from the Red Bull driver up into 4th place. I'm going to quickly flick it up on the tyres as well so we can see what tyre compound everyone started on. Majority of the field on the red stripe soft compound tyre, Marlson and John Wick also on the medium compound tyres, going long into this 13-lap race.
Yeah, absolutely. Gio as well on the medium tyres. And that's why Pushadino found it so easy to get past Miles there on the exit of the hairpin at turn number 11. So easy enough for the Red Bull driver to get past and try and get away now, because Miles is going to be in a fight with Fetz, and his teammate Jay Evans as JRL Viper naturally sets the fastest lap of the race because he's the first one to cross the line. Further back you got Fake Nutson, who's putting in a good showing thus far, but we're only on lap 2. He's had a good qualifying to get himself into the top 10. It looks like the top 3 have just broken away though from the drivers behind as Harran Ali pits, because I think he broke his front wing.
Yeah, and it's going to be hard compound tyres, which should see him to the end of the race. A little bit of contact between Fett and Malsum. The soft compound tyres having a lot more grip than the mediums in the early phase of the race, and he's able to get the move down the inside and up into 5th place. The Alpine losing another position from the start, but bear in mind he's on the medium compound tyres, so if he can keep up with these guys on the soft, he might lose a position or two, but should set him up for a good end to this race. He's got his teammate behind. We might see some team orders if Jay Evans is quicker on the soft compound tyres. In theory, he should be quicker on the quicker compound. We'll have to wait and see how they play it at Alpine.
Yeah, absolutely. And they were both using the RS out of the hairpin then, so I don't think there's going to be too much in terms of team orders. I've just watched Billy Misu get past John Wick. I think the medium tyres are struggling at the moment to get up to temperature compared to the soft currently, so these cooler conditions are certainly favouring the soft tyres a lot more of an offset compared to what we saw in the earlier pair of races in Weekend League 2. The Doctor, though, has fallen away just outside of DRS from the front two at the moment, but Pushadino's like 2 and a bit seconds back at the moment. DRS now enabled this lap. Only one DRS zone for the drivers at Suzuka, which is on the main straight, which is quite difficult considering how tricky Suzuka is to overtake even without DRS. So having a second DRS zone might actually help. Maybe they'll do that this year.
Yeah, well, they seem to be adding DRS zones everywhere. There's notes they're adding one at Australia, I think, this year, and I think there's a few other tracks that they're looking into. So yeah, you really got to get a good run through the final corner to have a good chance of overtaking. We've got our pitter who's losing positions. He's now down to 12th place after a spin down at turn 7. Jackie is going slowly through the first sector, but I think he's just waiting for his tyres to cool down, and he's gone off again. Unfortunately for him, the Doctor's actually caught back up to this battle for the front three. He was outside of a second a couple of on the last lap. He's now within 8/10. So we've got a nice three-way battle forming for the lead of the Japanese Grand Prix.
Yeah, and 2 of the championship contenders right in the mix with Shortbread and the Doctor. And if you're the Doctor in this situation, you would be thinking about tyre life, you would be thinking about the undercut. It's a little bit more difficult for Viper and Shortbread because those two will be concentrating on one another as Jay Evans goes past Miles. And that was a orchestrated move in the end. So there were team orders at Alpine. Natty called it right. Otmar's got on the phone. And Jay Evans is up to 6th. Been putting in some good performances recently as well as Jay Evans. But what would, in terms of the strategy at this position, if you were the Doctor at this point, Natty, what would you be thinking, undercut, or would you be thinking try and match maybe one of the other two in front of you?
I'd probably start by focusing on catching up to Shortbread because he's only 9/10 behind, so he's risking a small mistake and he's outside the DRS. So I'd say use the tyres whilst the conditions are still cool, and then think of an undercut. But what he doesn't want to do is get caught up in traffic if he does undercut. Luckily for him, the grid is still fairly close together as Gio, I think, made a mistake and lost the position to Billy Musu or the AlphaTauri on those quicker soft compound tyres. So for Doctor, I think it's to push and think of an undercut to get ahead of the 2 cars in front.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good bit of advice. He's just outside of a second at the moment, but he's still close enough to have the undercut being effective if he decides to do that. Shortbread had a little bit of a mistake then coming out of Spoon out, but not to worry, still within DRS. A little blast of ERS down the back straight there just keeps him within a tidy distance. Miles is in 7th at the moment. He's just hanging on to the back of his teammate just outside the DRS zone, but I think Miles has got a lot of straight line speed, and into the pits goes Viper, the race leader.
That's quite early.
I'm looking at the gaps between Shortbread in the lead and the next set of cars, and the driver in 12th place, Harran Ali, is 48 seconds behind already. So when Viper comes out of the pits, he is going to have a heap of clear track in front of him, so he'll have no issues. And now it's up to the front two to respond.
Gio's dropped in the wall on the exit of the first corner, and luckily for Viper, he can go on through unaffected by the McLaren. Unless there's a safety car, then he'll be quite affected by the McLaren's mistake. But I think Gio will be facing in the right direction fairly shortly, and we won't be needed for a safety car. The Doctor's dropped it under the tunnel, and I think he's got his front wing intact. I don't think there's damage to the McLaren, but it's a common theme this week of the championship leader dropping it from a good position to score points.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Again, it's happened. And the Doctor, fortunately for the Doctor, he's lost time. He's only lost 1 place in the grand scheme of things to Pushadino. And, you know, Jay Evans is a little bit, he's not out in DRS, crucially for the McLaren driver. But that'll be his race in terms of competing for the race victory pretty much out of his grasp now, unless we get a safety car later on. Is Shortbread in the pits? He is. So Shortbread responding to the pit stop from Viper.
I think we might see a few of the top runners also reacting, and indeed the top 3 all in. Jay Evans in as well, so the top 4 into the pits. Miles now leads the race after starting on the medium compound tyres, going longer into the race. John Wick promoted up into second place as well. Now, where is Viper coming down the start-finish straight? Does he keep the lead of the race away from Shortbread? It's going to be close, actually, because here comes the Mercedes out of the pits, and he's got ahead of the AlphaTauri. It was a really good in-lap from Shortbread, and he's got the jump on Viper.
That's a fantastic in-lap from Shortbread to get in front by about half a second as well. He's still getting his tyres up to temperature, but what a track to get your tyres up to temperature, eh, Natty? Because the first sector will do all of the work for you, providing you just keep it steady enough. And John Wick is currently in second. I'm just referring to that there. But Shortbread is in front of GRL Viper, and that's important for the championship. I've got to also just make a brief mention. The Doctor was incredibly late coming into the pit stop. He made up a heap of time on Pushadino. He left it to the last moment to brake, and he just got the car underneath the 50-mile-an-hour speed limiter. So the Doctor, not as phased as I thought he was going to be, coming straight back into the pits, and he's less than half a second behind the Red Bull.
Yeah, half a second behind the Red Bull, but 7.5 seconds behind where he was, right behind Shortbread, although that position now being obtained by the AlphaTauri. The top two leading this race, but are yet to make a pit stop. A safety car roundabout now will certainly play into their favour to take the soft tyres to the end. I've seen yellow flags in the middle sector. I hope I haven't just called the safety car out. Here comes Viper, side by side with Shortbread, down the start-finish straight, DRS wide open, and it's not a contest for Shortbread. The AlphaTauri swoops past and ahead before we even start braking for turn one. Viper now back up into the lead of this race.
Yeah, great overtake for Viper. Straightforward enough. He's got a lot of straight line speed in that car, but used quite a fair amount of ERS to get there. So Shortbread has a lot more than him, and he'll be hoping to try and match the speed of the AlphaTauri as Jackie-On Franson picks up a 3-second time penalty. I've got to say, though, the drivers that started on the medium compound tyres, John Wick and Miles, doing a great job, obviously, at the moment, up at the front, yet to pit. But they are, I'm noticing that compared to the drivers such as, I'd say Fetz would be the best example, they are pulling the time out compared to the drivers who've just gone onto the new medium tyres. And maybe they're just a little bit more acquainted and used to the mannerisms of the medium compounds, as opposed to the drivers who started on the softs, now on these new mediums, trying to get used to it up to speed. Miles is out to 21 seconds over Fetz, which is just enough for a pit stop.
Yeah, maybe the overcut could be the way to go for the circuit. Like you were saying, it's not too difficult to warm up the tyres with the help of the technical first sector. So maybe these guys just staying out long on these medium tyres could be beneficial for them. As I say that, John Wick is into the pits for the soft compound tyres, or I can only assume it's for the soft. Viper sets the fastest lap of the race, but still has Shortbread hot on his gearbox, trying to retake the lead of the race after starting from pole.
Yeah, absolutely. So John Wick going down the order. He was 7 seconds behind Miles when he pitted, or 6 seconds rather, behind Miles. He's going to come out behind Billy Misu. It'll be close, but he is behind. Let's just wait for the first delta time to tick over. So there you go, 22 seconds roughly for a pit stop around here, which means if Miles pits on this lap, he's coming out in what technically would be 6th place behind Fetz, who'd moved to 5th.
Yeah, that's good showing from the Alpine. That's roughly where he was as well before he pitted, and he's now going to be everyone else pitted, and he's now going to be on the fresher, the quicker, the grippier soft compound tyres. There's a Red Bull off in the first sector, but they've got going again.
Haranali on the hard compound tyres, who's gone off, which is a really difficult compound to be racing on around Suzuka, especially if you're doing races longer than 25%. So I feel for Haranali, but he can use it as a testing session for the next one. Miles, I'm assuming, will be in this lap. No, he carries on again. So Miles, deciding he's comfortable, wants to make as much use of the soft compound tyres as he possibly can. And his gap with Fetz is very, very close. He could beat Fetz out if he can put in a really good lap now.
Yeah, let's just go ahead for a safety car. I think that could be a reason he's staying out. It's a theory that I say on my GT7 streams. I don't think it's worth doing unnecessary laps on the slower compound tyres, if that makes sense. Like if the softs could do 6 laps and the mediums could do 10, there's no point taking the mediums all the way to 10 laps because then you're only getting 4 laps on the softs, whereas they could do 6, let's say. So I think it's waiting for a safety car is the strategy for Miles. And if it doesn't come, it's just foot to the floor, quali lap for the final 4 laps of this race. I think we'll see him in this lap if there's no safety car.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And that's not... And even if the safety car doesn't come, he's still putting in some good laps. I've been keeping an eye on them. And Miles has been setting some decent time, so he must be comfortable still on this medium tyre. But they will start to be giving up the ghost a little bit now for those Pirelli medium tyres. I think it's the C3s that they use around here as our Peter picks up a time penalty. He's very close with... Harren is retired. Is that a safety car or a virtual? Or are we going to get anything? Because sometimes F1 decides otherwise. I don't think we're getting one, are we?
No, it's... we've had a manual retirement from our Peter. That could cause a safety car. It drove straight into the wall in the middle sector. Must be frustrated. It's a virtual safety car. So... call the crashgate card if you will, but
full safety car. The safety car is at the pit lane exit coming down, so GRL Viper and Shortbread go through, and Miles is going to come out in 3rd place. I don't think Pushadino is close enough. It's going to be so close, but is Pusher through? Pusher is through. The doctor goes through. Yeah, he's going to have to give that one back. So Miles comes out in 4th and will be the fastest, in theory, the fastest car on circuit with those soft tyres.
Yeah, fortunately for Pushadino, Miles hadn't quite cleared the pit lane white line on the left-hand side, which is why he was able to get up into 3rd place. I was riding on board with us to try and see what happened to the Red Bull. It was a manual retirement on circuit, which isn't great. We tell the drivers to manually retire in the pit lane if we do so. But whilst riding on board with our pitter, unless there was a steering issue with his setup, then that's a very
politically correct way of describing that retirement.
Yeah.
But it's brought out a bit of chaos. It's brought out a safety car. It's shaking up the proceedings. John Wick will be fancying his chances as well. He's just caught up to the back of that safety car train. Now, I imagine the safety car won't be out for very long. The safety car doesn't usually like to be out the lap before the end of the race, just judging by Codemaster's coding techniques. So we could see the safety car in the next lap, potentially. Could be wrong, though. I've been proven wrong many a time this season at Gavra.
Yeah, so there's the safety car that I said wouldn't come. Lap 10 of 13. So, yeah, we will get the safety car out for one more lap whilst we wait for the final few drivers to catch up to the back of it. Only one driver's got a time penalty so far. Actually, I think our Peter got a penalty before he retired. So only one driver with a time penalty. And with a safety car towards the end of the race, it's going to be crucial to keep it within the track limits and not get a 3-second time penalty, because with the field so close together, you will lose a lot of positions with a 3-second time penalty towards the end of a race.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge heap of time, and because there's so little in terms of distance remaining in the race, that can not drop you, normally maybe drop you 1 or 2 places, but this could drop you 5 or 6 considering how tight the field will be in these remaining laps. Jackie Franson is using his ERS to catch the back of the safety car group. I mean, it's working for him, but you know, it's not a suggestion we'd recommend for everybody. Gio's also pushing to try and catch the safety car. I think it's going to be tougher for Gio. I think Jackie will catch it actually quite comfortably, but it's a question of whether the McLaren of Gio can get up to the back of the safety car. He needs, I mean, really, and it's, to be honest with you, he needs to try and do a qualifying sector 1 and 2, to be honest, and that'll take a lot out of the tyres.
Yeah, I don't think he'll catch it by the time it says the safety car's in this lap, but I think by the time the safety car's pulled into the pits and Z5 slows the field down, I think he'll have time to catch up to the back of the Mercedes. It's always a nerve-wracking situation to be in when you've just pitted safety car, the safety car's coming in this lap and you haven't quite caught up to the back of it because you don't want to push, burn and overheat your tyres, but then you can't sit back. He's making his way to the hairpin. I think he's comfortably going to make it to the back of the Mercedes.
All comes down to spoon curve, really, whether he can... I mean, if he's not used... I think he will make it, actually. Maybe even before we get to spoon curve. So well done to Gio. He's caught the back of the train. Now, will this trigger the safety car for this lap? Because if it does, we get 2 laps of racing, and that's what we want before we go into the last knockers. And it is. Safety car is in this lap, so Viper backs right off. And we saw, the drivers probably be a bit frustrated, thinking, why are we slowing down? Why are we so slow? The safety car's got to go in the pits. And that's why the drivers have to slow to a crawl. And the first driver at the front, Viper, has to set the speed. So it's all down to you behind to make sure you don't crash into the back of the driver. But Viper slowing up. Oh, and that's what I was talking about. There's the collisions already. When does Viper go in the AlphaTauri? He's gone now.
Oh, the doctor's round.
The doctor's gone round.
Facing the wrong way.
Unbelievable. Fetz is out. As well as we say that, Shortbread just having to defend from Pushadino with 2 laps to go. Sorry to interrupt you, Natty.
Sorry. I've no idea what happened to the doctor or why he was facing or how he was facing the wrong way. But that's the championship leader at the back of the grid with 2 laps to go. Viper leads the safety car, leads the field away from the safety car restart, maintains position, followed by Shortbread and Pushadino up to 3rd place. Keeping our miles on those soft compound tyres, making a charge through the field with 2 laps to go. But that is a real mystery of what's happened to the doctor and Fett in the mid pack of the grid.
Fett's got a penalty for a collision, so he probably would have thought, no, it's not worth it, I won't be able to pull the time back. But the doctor, he's going to be scrambling to get even a point at this rate, which is currently occupied by his teammate. At the moment, no DRS for the rest of this race now. This is the penultimate lap, of course. So Shortbread will have to do it all through ERS, and Viper knows that. He's using it too. Pusher trying to pull himself away from Miles, who is giving it his all. But I've got to say, Fake Knutson is having a great drive tonight. He's absolutely flying. He's up to 5th place. He's got no penalties as John Wick picks up one as we say that. He's up from 10th. And he's putting in a great effort from Fake Nuts. This is the best drive I've seen from him this season. 1 lap to go. This would be a really good set of points for Ferrari.
His highest point scoring finish this season has been 6th. And he's currently running in 5th, scoring some great points for the Ferrari team, the only Ferrari in this race tonight. Final lap of the race, 4 tenths separating the top 2, 3 tenths separating Miles from a possible podium finish. But I think all these drivers are going to be holding that ERS button on the final lap. They've had a full deployment active effectively from the safety car with only 2 laps to go. Looks like we've got a battle for the lead in the battle for the final podium position. Can Miles use the grip, the advantage he's got on those fresh soft compound tyres to upset Pushadino for a possible podium?
That's the thing. Can Miles get close enough? He's got more ERS available to him than Pusher, but he's just not getting the lines right that he needs to get close enough to the back of that Red Bull. Pusher now has no ERS left. He thinks he's away from him. Viper still leads the way, and he should be okay. He's got a lot more ERS available to him than Shortbread has, as the Doctor moves up to 10th past Jackie on Franson. I think Viper's got this, and looking back, I don't think Miles is going to be close enough. It would take a monumental lunge. He's got a chance, though. What a line through the corner from Miles, but he's not going to be close enough, I don't think. So I'll cut to Viper, who takes another race win here at Gavra. It's Viper who wins. Shortbread 2nd. Pushadino 3rd. Miles 4th. Fake Knutson, great result. Jay Evans. Billy Misu ends up 8th because of his penalty. So John Wick 7th. The Doctor up to 8th after all that. Penalties at the end, just about keeping the Doctor in the championship fight. Great end to the race. And crucially, the top 2 scoring little to no points in the championship. Top 2 in the championship, sorry, scoring little to no points. Miles with, a P4 finish in the end. That's some crucial points. Shortbread with a P2 finish. That's 3rd and 4th in the championship, scoring some good points over 1st and 2nd.
this just got a whole lot closer.
Absolutely. So Viper takes another race victory. I tell you what, if Viper was a full season driver, he'd be right in the championship as well, but alas he isn't, so he's won the race. Well done to Viper. Shortbread is second with Pushadino third, Miles M fourth with Fake Nuts in fifth, with Jay Evans in sixth place. Good points for Alpine in their championship fight. John Wick is seventh with the Doctor in eighth. Billy Misu and Gio round out the top 10. Jackie on Franson so close to getting points, but not quite in the end. He is the last driver to finish the race, with Fett retiring, our Peter Haranali retiring, and Psycho didn't get going. We need to see and find out what happened to him with the Haas car there. Is had a very difficult season, has Psycho. He's got the speed, but he's just... I think he's almost pushed himself too far away from the championship. So let's see what will happen in the next race.
It's incredible that we've got 13 more laps of this. What a great race. But a big upset in the championship for the Doctor. But Shortbread and Miles making their championship hunt back alive. And we've still got 3 races to go, 1 tonight and 2 next week at Saudi Arabia. The Doctor has actually left the session, so unless he's bored, he needs an invite back. We'll get on that.
Yeah, we will do.
Possible.
Haranali has exited, unfortunately. He's had a bit of an emergency come up, so sadly for him, he's not in for the next race in a few minutes' time. Jay Evans is very happy with his result there, which is good news for him. So apparently with Fetz and the Doctor, apparently there was a bit of contact between the two at the safety car restart, and that just caused, I think, the Doctor to go into a spin. I think that's what happened in the end, so that's a shame if that was the case.
Yeah, just waiting to see if those drivers who have left are joining back. I know there was one person who's not joining back. We're just waiting to see if the Doctor is going to join back. Indeed he is. I can see him.
He is, yeah.
So he's back. And I think that'll be everyone. We should be ready to go nice and quickly for this second race.
Pushadino very happy with his podium as well, so he should be really. It's been a long slog for Pusher to get that podium, but he's on the rostrum, which is good news for him at the Honda sponsored circuit of Suzuka, which is good news for him. And we'll wait for a few moments before we get underway with the one-shot qualifying session, which typically Viper, GRL Viper that is, has been traditionally very quick. Not just with his race pace, of course, but also his one-lap speed as well.
I think we are ready to go for the second race. 14 drivers are in the lobby and ready. Looks like the Doctor's just had a little bit of a moment in the Discord chat. He's forgotten that there are 2 races.
He also needs to select his car as well before we get going, because otherwise he'll be running around Suzuka, which, you know, I think a lot of people in the Mie Prefecture of Japan have seen that before, but not in an actual F1 race. In fact, Shortbread just reminding the Doctor that he needs to select his car, which he has now done. So, well, we've had a safety car, which threw up a little bit of excitement at the end of the race. Miles benefiting from it in the end, moving up from potentially what would have been 6th to 4th. So will there be potential for more drama in this next race? I'm going to ask Natty again. I'm not going to ask a safety car this time. Do you think it'll rain?
Yes. I do. I've got a feeling we'd have mixed conditions in the race. I don't know why.
It's typically because of where the calendar for Japan is held. It is typhoon season in Japan at that point. But we've got a dry qualifying session, so we'll wait and see what the race is going to end up being like. There's still loads of time for Natty's prediction to be correct.
I know it's the official F1 game, but I don't know how much Codemasters have put into the official time of the races on the calendar. They've got the typhoon season added into Japan.
Funnily enough, I spoke to a few reps at Codemasters because they've done loads of events in London and across the UK, which I've been to, and they actually do simulate weather sessions based on the time of year. So it's in this game, which is quite good. How realistic that is in terms of their weather conditions, I don't know, but they do at least try and simulate that.
It's like those small details that you don't realise that are in the game.
Absolutely. But we've got less than 20 seconds before we get underway for this one-shot qualifying. And let's see who's going to be the best at nailing the lap. It's crucial as well to not make any mistakes or spin round or crash out, because you'll be right at the back of the grid, and that'll make your race even harder in a few minutes' time. So here we go then. Underway at Suzuka.
Yes, one-shot qualifying. The drivers get one lap to try and put themselves on pole position. I'm trying to ride on board with the last race winner, GRL Viper, or its Sexify, as some of you might know as. Currently running in second place, but there's no point in talking about the leaderboard during the one-shot qualifying because it changes so much over the course of a lap that you'll just end up with no voice by the end of it. Out of all the tracks on this calendar, I think maybe this Suzuka and Saudi Arabia might be the two trickiest laps to get bang on right over a one-shot qualifying lap. There's lots of places where you can hit the wall and invalidate in both circuits as well. It doesn't look like Saito's got going, so he will be disqualified.
And the doctor's out as well.
And again, the championship leader, and we saw this earlier tonight, not having a great day in the office for the doctor, will start from 13th place.
Yeah, so he's going to be right at the back. Not ideal for him. Really unfortunate is for the McLaren driver. Psycho isn't here either. I actually did watch it. It was great because his F1 car turned into a lawnmower for the first straight and then crashed into the wall. So not really sure what's happened to Psycho, but sadly he might not be racing at all tonight, which would be a shame. They're coming through now, though, the drivers into the Casio Triangle. Should be GRL Viper, providing he gets his exit right there on pole position. Yes, it is, by the smallest of margins. Unbelievable, less than a tenth.
Another quick, clean lap for Viper. Not quite pole position for Shortbread, so two different pole sitters. Can the Welshman get off to a better start and be the first driver tonight to lead the race from pole position?
Yeah, absolutely. Pushadino with a good effort there to get himself into third place. He'll be open for more. Fett's in fourth, Miles M. The Alpines have been very closely matched at Suzuka. They're on the third row of the grid. Billy Misu and R. Peter take up row 4 and 7th and 8th, with Fake Knutson and Gio rounding out the top 10. Everybody else was either disqualified or didn't set a lap time. So for those drivers who are outside the top 10, they'll have to try and concentrate, get back through the field, and at least for Psycho to get hopefully into the second race of the evening.
Yeah, definitely. Let's hope that the Haas driver can get off the line. It's just because I've just started doing this weekendly commentary for seeing this. Gav's not here to do the streaming, but since I've done 3 races. This is the 4th one today, and the pole sitter hasn't led from at the end of lap 1 from pole position. A fun fact from our GT7 season this year, for those who watched, the pole sitter from the first 7 races failed to finish on the podium from that race, so I was convinced there was a pole position curse over that GT7 season. Maybe now I've brought the pole position curse back to the F1 leagues.
There's a bit of consistency running here at the moment.
A lot of cursing.
But we'll see. We will see whether Viper can get his launch right. It's going to be all important on the run down to turn 1 to keep themselves out of trouble for the drivers. But there's an AlphaTauri on the right hand side and a Mercedes on the left here at Japan. The light's about to go out now. And the race is live from Suzuka. Looks like a good start from Viper. He's done well so far, and his second launch was good as well. There's crash in the background. There's a couple of cars off on the circuit, but Viper is in the lead. Viper has got an okay line there. He should be fine. Shortbread's in second, and that is a safety car because of the incident at the start. It's not a safety car, it's a virtual safety car. And there was an incident between Billy Misu, R. Peter, and Jay Evans. All came together on that accident just then.
Yeah, that looked like someone got a little bit too much wheel spin as well from the start. I think it was an Alpine that went over to the left-hand side of the circuit, caused a couple of collisions, but don't quote me on that. There might be some damage for some of the drivers at the back of the grid, as it's getting a little bit stop-started towards the back and in the middle. I think drivers getting a little bit too close to the delta. Let's hope no one gets a drive-through for exceeding the delta when the VSC ends. It's something that's quite easy to do, especially when going through a corner. Sometimes the delta shots up or down. But VSC has ended, and we can get back to green flag racing. A good start from Viper. Shortbread 5 tenths behind, and Pushadino trying to fight for another podium.
They are indeed. The top 5 all remain in station. Gio had a great start. He's up from 10th to 6th. He's gained 4 places. John Wick's up 5 places. The Doctor's up 6 places. So those 3 have flew up through the field, which is great news for them. But they'll just have to keep that performance going over the remaining laps that we have. Still, obviously, the rest of the race still to go. So let's see how they do over this period of time. But Viper across the line in a lead. He'll be happy with his start. Miles M again going for that medium to soft compound strategy as R. Peter goes into the pits. Set of poor races for him, sadly not through any fault of his own, as John Wick gets overtaken by the Doctor, who's on the soft compound, and the Doctor is up to 7th, started 13th, so he's doing very well at the moment. Jay Evans on the medium tyre, so both Alpines running the alternative strategy to everybody else alongside John Wick.
Yeah, it's been a good, quick, clean and crucial start to the race for the Doctor. Doesn't want to lose any more points in this championship fight than he's already lost in the first race. He's got his teammate in front of him, and I think we might have a couple of engineers over the radio telling that McLaren to move over if it cannot make its way through the field. No disrespect to Gio, but one of these cars is in a championship fight, and I'm sure would want to get a move through the field, nearly pushing his teammate, in fact, through the hairpin. I think it might be only a matter of time before he gets ahead of his teammate up into 6th place and can hunt down the top 5. Yeah,
that would be really important for Zach Brown to get on the headset, and there you go. That looked quite nice, actually. I reckon I want to say that was orchestrated from Gio. He left a little bit of room, ran wide through, went to the Doctor, no problem there, and they can hang on to each other's DRS, which will be enabled, of course, the next lap. The drag reduction system always available 3 laps after a restart or a new start, as Billy Misu gets past Jay Evans into 10th place, and Billy Misu trying to go on the attack of Jackie on France in Shortbread. New fastest lap as they go on to lap 3. DRS, there you go, the confirmation there. Miles looks very quick. He's closing that gap right down to Fetz already. So did Fetz have a little mistake? I'm not certain.
Not sure. Something's just flown up on my screen. I think it was just someone running over the curb on the inside at turn 1. No debris. No one losing end plates, as Billy Misu has now got ahead of the Mercedes up into 9th place, scoring some more points in his championship battles. Shortbread staying with Viper. Pushadino just about within the DRS range, 8 tenths behind Shortbread. The Doctor gaining on Miles, but is on the Alpine on the medium compound tyres, so we'll be running a little bit slower in theory. Jackie actually losing another position down to 10th place. 11th place, sorry. Jay Evans gets ahead of the Mercedes, who's now under pressure from Fake Knutson. Actually, we could have a move into Spoon, but I don't think the Ferrari's close enough.
No, he's not quite. Fake Knutson actually was involved in something after the initial incident on lap 1. He was facing the wrong way. Luckily, the virtual safety car meant he didn't lose much time, so he's got a chance to try and fight his way back through the field. But at the moment, Pushadino's just outside of the 1 second time which he needs for DRS. Speaking of someone who isn't within that gap, it's Shortbread. He's got DRS. He's not using any ERS though. He's just hanging on to the back of that AlphaTauri. Fetz is losing time, and I think Miles at this point is getting held up by him. Despite, oh, there you go. Fetz runs wide. Miles should be able to shut the door, which he does do, and the Alpine is up to 4th. And this alternative strategy is working for the Alpine.
It is indeed. I don't think the Alpine's no longer being held up by the Aston Martin. He's now dropped down to 5th after that earlier mistake, and he's under a lot of pressure now from the doctor. He's gone right onto the grass. Does he defend going into the dead? No, not quite. I don't think the doctor's going to go for it here. He's going to just bide his time, maybe into the hairpin or down at 130R. I reckon he's close enough to send it here if he wanted to, but he's going to play it a little bit more cooler than we saw earlier on in the Weekend League Tier 2. Currently running in 6th place, and he's got a couple of laps to try and get up the head of Fett and then challenge for the podium positions.
Yeah, he does. He's got lots of time, the doctor. That's important for him to recognise. He's had a great start to this race. He's driven excellently, and he will have DRS available to him, as will Fett, because Fett is still in this 1 second time that you need to be in to use the drag reduction system. So it's important for the doctor to just recognise that, not use too much ERS, so that he can hang on to the back and maybe try and have another attack on it on the next lap. Anybody pitting at the moment? Yes, Fett goes in. So it's early, but he wants a bit of fresh air.
Also frees up the doctor to hunt down Miles and close down the gap to Pushadino, running in 3rd place, who's dropped off the back of the top two. 2.5 seconds now separates him from Shortbread, who's staying with Viper. That's what are we going to see this time round? Is Shortbread going to try the overcut again, or he might try the undercut this time round? I'll have to wait and see. The field doesn't look that close as it was last time, as Gio's actually dropped it down in the down at turn 6. He's facing the right direction again, and that could be where Shortbread or Viper come out if they were to make their pit stop roughly where that McLaren is.
Yeah, that is a shame for Gio. He was driving really well. I think Miles has had a little bit of a wobble somewhere, because he is now right in the, well, I say he was right in the tracks of the Alpine, but he's trying to go around the outside at 200R. Miles, if he's smart about this, might have to just back out of it and let the doctor go, because he's very quick at the minute in that McLaren. And sure enough, the doctor moves into 4th place at Spoon Inn. There's a yellow flag. I think Gio's gone round again, unfortunately, so it's gone from bad to worse for the McLaren. Now Miles will do well to just keep in the DRS range and just gain a little bit more time from there. I'm watching to see whether Shortbread or Viper goes in. Viper goes in, and they both go in at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's wise from Shortbread to follow Viper in. Although the overcut worked for him in the last race, I don't think he wants to risk it.
Oh, the doctor's hit the wall.
And he's got a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So not only is he going to get a front wing, that's not going to get changed because he entered the pit lane as he lost the front wing. So the game doesn't change the wing if you get damage whilst in the pit lane, entering the pit lane. So he's now going to either pit again or do the rest of this race with half a front wing.
Oh, that's a nightmare for the doctor. I think he just lost it on the bump coming into the pit lane there. Affects his right pit, and he can't turn in. He's got more damage. And is this a retirement? This is a retirement.
This could be the championship leader calling it a day, and there you have it.
And that might have just seen the doctor's chances of the championship spear off with that front wing end plate. Sadly for him, that is such a shame. But we carry on. So the championship battle now is looking like Miles and Shortbread, who are obviously both on different compound of tyre. Well, in terms of strategy, they will be on the different compound tyres. Now, will Miles try and push this again? Because he's got loads of time in front of him. He's got no concerns around him. He's 6 seconds, well, 5.5 seconds clear of John Wick and a couple behind Pushadino, who still needs to pit. As it stands, he'll come out in... where are we? He will be in... as Jay Evans just goes past John Wick, so the Alpines running together on circuits, Pushadino pits. But Miles will come out behind Fetz, who is on for a net 3rd place at the moment, so Miles is going to have to push.
Yeah, I'm just going to wait until these drivers come into the pits. I think he's running better in this race than he did in the last. Looking at the gap to the two net leaders, Viper and Shortbread, who are now promoted to 4th and 5th place with Pushadino into the pits. And Pushadino has lost time to the race leaders doing the overcut, because he was 2.5 seconds roughly behind. He's now 3.5 seconds behind on cold tyres. So maybe the undercut is the way to go, and obviously Miles might not know this because he probably might not have someone watching the stream telling him this information. But it appears in this race, it's a sunnier race. The track temperature is probably a lot higher, and it looks like the undercut might be the way to go.
Yeah, it might be that the undercut is working a little bit better, and that's a really good observation that it is a lot sunnier for the Suzuka race this time around. Now, Pushadino's obviously just made that pit stop. He's just come out in 6th place as it stands, but he has Fetz right with him, and that won't be making him feel any more comfortable, because they're both on a similar strategy, and if you were conscious of where you're fighting, as I say, that Fetz just put a wheel on the grass as he braked, then he nearly got that all horribly wrong, that spoon, but he gets away with it. But if you were in that position where Miles is, and you were where Pushadino was instead, I should say, you don't want to get caught up in a fight now, because that'll allow Miles to get ahead of them and be on a softer compounded tyre, which means he'll pull away.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a... Obviously, it's easier for us to say up in the commentary box. We've got all the information up on our screens. Pushadino, Fett, they don't know that they're within nearly the pit window of Miles to pit and come out in this battle. They're 20 seconds behind the race leader. It's about 22, 23 seconds lost to make a pit stop. But Miles is going to be on a quicker, softer compound of tyre.
He is. Absolutely. Speaking of two drivers, though, who have been performing very well, these two, Viper and Shortbread, I'm watching in 3rd and 4th, they have been neck and neck the whole way through both sets of races. They've been separated by less than a second for virtually all of it. Shortbread's looking a little bit more feisty, though, this time around. I've noticed he's really closing up in the middle sector compared to earlier on in the previous race. He's a lot closer this time around. He's about 4 tenths away, and that gap was a little bit higher. But it just depends how well they do out of the Casio triangle. And if they get it wrong, away they go. And Fetz and Pushadino are just starting to work themselves into the gap that Miles has. And Miles is pitted.
Yeah, and I think he's got the gap to his teammate as well. If Jay Evans wanted to come in, he does.
They are,
indeed.
yeah.
It's a double stack at Alpine. It's a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane as well. Let's have a look and see if Jay Evans has to wait. It's a little wait. It's maybe a second or two lost for Jay Evans in the pit stop. Where does Miles exit the track? It's going to be behind the Aston Martin of Fetz, I believe. He leaves the pit lane now. There goes the Red Bull. And there goes Fett. It's going to be really close down in towards turn 1, but Fett just swoops around the outside of the Alpine up into P4. But now we've got a race on our hands with Miles on the fresh, soft compound tyres, gaining, pushing, I should say, to try and finish this race on the podium whilst the front two battle out for the lead of the race.
Yeah, this is critical time now for Miles. He's got to get those tyres up to temperature, use as much as he can. He knows that he's got the right compound of tyre now to get past the two cars in front. And maybe a little bit earlier in the race that we just had, Miles didn't have enough time to extract all the performance out of the soft tyres. But he does have the time now. He's got 4 laps after this one to get the softs up to speed, right at the ragged edge to catch up. Because as it stands, Shortbread will be leading this championship, and he'll have a little bit of an advantage over Miles when they go to Saudi Arabia. So these next few laps are going to be so vital for Miles to be realistically in with a good shot at winning this championship.
Yeah, lap 9 of 13. I think Miles is under a lot more pressure than Shortbread is. Obviously going into this race out of the top 3 in the championship, so kind of almost an underdog, but still within a really good contention of winning this with 2 drivers in front of him not scoring any points. With the Doctor scoring 4 from the first race, but none in this.
Here
and
he
he's now got a good chance to gain a few more down the start finish straight, round the outside, so it gets the move done before turn 1. Fett not fighting it too much on those mediums. Might try and work with Miles to gain up to Pushadino.
He was going to do that, but he ran so wide at turn 2. You should have probably heard me take an intake of breath then. He ran so wide, I thought he was going off, but got away with it, did Fett. He's a driver, Fetz, who I think has had a bit of a tough time this season. A lot of people have said he's very quick, and I've seen it before. He's an exceptionally quick driver, but he's not in the championship fight, unfortunately. But points on the board just brings that confidence back. It only takes a few results and the drivers will get back up to speed. And Miles is that driver. You know, he led the championship at the start of the season in Singapore. He took a very opportunistic win in the opening races and then just kept the consistent results going. He's been on the podium the odd time since then, and that's what's kept him there whilst other drivers...
Oh, no!
I've cursed him. Oh, no. Well, the commentator's curse has sadly struck on Miles, and I will take full responsibility for that, Miles, because he was doing so well and he was on his way for a podium, surely, but now that chance is gone and bigged him up too much.
Stay tuned next time, where you're going to be joined by 2 new commentators for the weekend.
Oh no, Miles will be kicking himself. He just ran over the exit curb in between spoon in and spoon out, and that was it. Just didn't work for him, and the soft tyres cried enough at that point. He's got his teammate in front of him. He's got a penalty as well, so he could be on for 5th place, but he's just got to get his head down and go for it again. Now, Shortbread will be aware that Miles isn't in the top 5. The reason why is because you'll see his little indicator on the top left, which counts the top 5 drivers that are around you, and he won't be there anymore. So Shortbread will have a little bit more incentive to go after Viper. He's got more ERS than the AlphaTauri driver in front of him, and he's looked, like I said earlier, he's looked a little bit more racy in this one tonight. He looks like he's up for it, but he's got to get closer, and that's so difficult to do when you're up against a driver of Viper's calibre.
Yeah, I always hate racing someone who's, I'd say, equal your pace, because it's really hard to find the way through, and I think that's what separates the good drivers from the great ones. When you're matched on pace, and then it comes down to your race pace, how do you find the way past someone as quick as you, nearly rear-ending them through the Casio Triangle? Is probably not one of them, but it just goes to show how much Shortbread's pushing and how much he's willing to risk to win this race. They start the penultimate lap of the race, separated by 0.3 of a second, going in towards turn 1, but the Mercedes just can't find a way past that AlphaTauri. I'm sure he's got a great look of that red diffuser throughout the last 24 laps that they've done of this track across the 2 13-lap races. Can Shortbread find his way past Viper, or can the AlphaTauri make it 2 from 2?
Yeah, it's going to be really close. But what I will say about Shortbread is that whilst he might have got a little bit of a poor exit, it did push Viper into using more ERS than what he would have wanted. And Viper is still having to use a little bit more. In fact, Shortbread has double what Viper has at the moment. So Viper has to be careful in this next lap and a half, because this will be the critical time for Shortbread. He knows he can get closer to that AlphaTauri, and if he's close enough out the Casio Triangle, that'll be his chance to take the lead. But he's going to have one shot at doing it, and he's got to get it right.
He's not got long left in this race, and there aren't too many overtaking opportunities at Suzuka. The best one's at turn 1. Another good one, it could be at the hairpin or Casio Triangle if you can get 1/3. Get spoon right. There's a couple of corners in between that. You've also got to nail lap after lap, and 12 laps later, with Lau on the final lap on the race. And it's been between these two for the entire race. They have been nose to tail for 13 laps. It's how it started, but will it be how it ended? Here goes Shortbread. Viper defends the inside. Very close between the top 2.
He might still have another chance, Shortbread. He's still got a lot of ERS in the cabinet, as opposed to Viper. There might still be one more chance, but he's just got to stay close enough. Viper will be feeling that pressure in the AlphaTauri. He'll want to take a 4th win in a row. That's including the sprint at China, of course. He will know that. But he's got Shortbread, who is pushing so hard for that championship, and he'll know how crucial those extra 7 points will be to consolidating that championship of his. He runs into the back of Viper. A little bit of contact. I don't think it's a problem. There's a yellow flag out there somewhere. I think that's our Peter who's lost the points on this final lap. This is going to be oh so close. Viper now turns the car in to spoon in. He gets a very good line through there, actually a little bit better than what Shortbread was. He's on the ERS, they're both on the ERS, and they're giving it the absolute full maximum power available to them. Viper has run out of what he's got left. Shortbread, though, hasn't. Here he comes. Can Shortbread make any form of move? Viper goes very, very defensive. Shortbread's trying to go around the outside. This is the final corner. They get through cleanly. Viper is going to hold on the final corner and takes a 4th win in a row with the AlphaTauri. Shortbread is second. Pushadino takes a podium again. What a result for the Red Bull. Fetz will be 4th. Jay Evans will end up 6th thanks to the penalty that he's got. So that'll be Miles in 5th, Jay Evans in 6th, Billy Misu 7th, John Wick, I think, will hold on to 8th unless he's got a penalty of more than 3 seconds. It's going to be very close between him and Fake Knutson as he crosses the line. Let's see that gap if it changes. It doesn't. Jackie on Franson and Fat Gio end up in 10th and 11th places.
Whew. What an end to that race. I feel like it was a move that Shortbread had to try. He knew Vibe was always going to defend the inside line, and I think for a track like Suzuka, it would have been really difficult for Shortbread to have made that move work. I think he was forced to brake late and try and go around the outside, because if he tries to switch back, he's going to get, Viper's just going to park it on the apex. At best, he can try and hold it round the outside. And hope that Viper gives him enough room. Unfortunately for Shortbread, he couldn't quite get round the outside, or all the way round the outside. But a great attempt and a great race from both Shortbread and Viper, and a great win for the AlphaTauri team.
Yeah, those two have been an absolute step above this tonight in these two races. They've been excellent, the pair of them. But Viper has come out on top on both occasions. Shortbread will take the point for fastest lap. He'll be a little bit happier with that in terms of stopping GRL from getting the Grand Kellum of fastest lap pole position, and of course the race win. Stops the fastest lap element of it anyway. Well, Viper wins the race from Shortbread. Pushadino 3rd, Fetz 4th, Miles 5th with Jay Evans in 6th, Billy Misu and John Wick in 7th and 8th with Fake Knutson and Jackie on Franson rounding out the points finishes. Gio and R. Peter finished the race with the Doctor retiring and Psycho not even getting off the grid. Well, what this means for the championship will be, my rough calculations in my head will put Shortbread in the lead of the championship with his 2 second places, which will give him 36 points, and the point for fastest lap, which will give him 37, with Miles taking a 5th and a 4th. I believe I'm right in saying that will give him 22. So Shortbread is going to have a 17 or 14 point lead over Miles going into the final round of the season. That's close.
It's going to make for a great season finale. And what other than a track like Saudi Arabia that's proven itself to be have interesting races in real life, and I think quite a new track in terms of appearances at Gavra Racing, so it should be for a very nice season finale. Yeah,
it showed up in last season's race, did Saudi Arabia. I think it was round 2 of the season. There was a lot of chaos in those races. Billy Misu got a podium, as did Fetz in both races, and Psycho got his first pole position at Saudi Arabia as well. So those 3 drivers will be hoping for a bit more form around there, and hopefully for Psycho he can get himself racing for next week, which is when we will be back for Gavra Racing in terms of the final round of the season for both Weekend League 1 and Weekend League 2 at the same time of 5 and 8 o'clock British Standard Time in the evening on Sunday. Do make sure you check us out on Twitch, of course. If you're watching, do make sure you're following us or you've subscribed. Likewise, for those watching the highlights on YouTube or maybe even on Twitch as well, make sure you do the subscription there. Check out the Gavra Racing website alongside our online platforms for social media. That includes Discord and Instagram. But I've been Jack TM53, your commentator as always, and I'm very happy to have had Natty in the commentary box with me. But as always, thank you very much for watching, and wherever you might be in the big wide world, have a good one. See you next week.
See you later.